Forest and Wildlife. This is from the chapter Management of Natural Resources, the last chapter of class 10. So let's deal with the topic Forest and Wildlife. So watch the entire video lecture to get basics out of it. Stay at home, stay safe. So without any delay, let's start with the topic Forest and Wildlife. So let's start. So in the topic Forest and Wildlife, let's see. First, let's see the needs for management of natural resources. That means in the last lecture I have I have given you a lecture about natural resources. Today let me show you about the need for management of natural resources. How we can manage, what are the needs, clear? So all the things we use and consume are obtained from natural resources. Due to increase in population, industrialization and urbanization, the demand for natural resources is increasing and their availability is limited. All right, so there is a need for proper management of natural resources. The proper management of natural resources consists of the following. Number one, judicious use of natural resources and avoiding wastage of natural resources. That means first one, cautiously we have to use the natural resources and we don't have to waste the natural resources. Clear? Consumption habit has to be done. Proper and cautious use of natural resources has to be done. Then second point is long-term planning for the use of natural resources so that it lasts not only for the present but also for the future generation. So there has to be long-term planning for natural resources. Clear? Fourth point is the exploitation of natural resources should be for the benefit of a few people but should be distributed equally to all. That means we have seen that in cities the natural resources are more used, whereas in rural area the natural resources are not so much used. So that's why it has to be equally distributed and used less. Clear? So that it can be stored for future generation. And the fourth point is, while extracting and using natural resources, we should also plan for the safe disposal of waste so that no damage is caused to the environment. Clear? So when we are using the natural resources, clear, so safe disposal method has to be done and safe method has to be taken. Clear? Overuse of natural resources should not be done. Clear? So these are the 4 points. First one is we have to use the natural resources judiciously and cautiously. We have to do a long-term planning. Exploitation of natural resources should not be done and it has to be distributed equally to all people. And fourth one is we don't have to overuse natural resources and we don't have to damage the environment by overusing it. All right. Now now from forest, first we'll see the importance of forest. What are the importance of forest? See, forest help us to preserve biodiversity. Forests are natural habits of plants and animals. Forests provide timber, wool, fuel, medicines and fodder. Forests help to maintain ecological balance. Forests help to control climate and rainfall. Forests help to prevent soil erosion and control floods. Forests help to maintain the oxygen, carbon dioxide balance in nature. So there are so many ample amount of importance of forest. We can gain many things about forest from forest. All right. So if we plant more trees, isn't it? If afforestation is done, then oxygen will be, they can supply more oxygen so that we can take, isn't it? Because we know that plants does photosynthesis and in the process of photosynthesis oxygen is evolved, isn't it? So we can take the oxygen. Clear? Next is stakeholders for forest. What are the stakeholders for forest? People who were associated with forest directly or indirectly are: number one, people living in and around forest depends on forest for their livelihood. All right, that means those people that are nearby around the forest, isn't it, within the forest or around the forest, they depend upon their livelihood on the forest, isn't it? Next is industrialists who use the raw material from forest for manufacturing paper, medicine and furniture. So there are many industries who take wood from the forest, isn't it? and they make for manufacturing. They're taking the wood for manufacturing paper, medicines, furnitures, etc. Next, third point is forest department of the government who owns the forest and controls resources from the forest. So the forest department also checks in the activities of the forest and controls it. Next is nature and wildlife organization who wants to conserve and preserve forest. So there are different nature and wildlife organization. Different organizations are there who conserve and preserve forest. All right. So these are the importance of forest and stakeholders of forest. Now, how we can conserve the forest? How conservation of forest is done? First one, we know that forest can be conserved by afforestation. This is the best and the most suitable method. Afforestation, that means planting of more trees. So forest can be conserved by afforestation. Number two, preventing or reducing deforestation, so that we have to prevent or reduce deforestation so that no trees are cut down, isn't it? Then preventing overgrazing by cattle. Then by setting up wildlife sanctuaries, national park, biosphere reserves. Clear? By setting up wildlife sanctuary, national park and biosphere reserves. Fifth point is undertaking social forestry program like Van Mahotsav Chipko movement for planting and protecting trees on a large scale. So first, afforestation can be done and deforestation has to be minimized. All right. If afforestation is done, then the topsoil is remained within that place only. Otherwise, if there is no trees, isn't it? If deforestation is done, we know the top layer is the fertile layer, isn't it? So it get eroded. So soil erosion also takes place by air activity, isn't it? So planting of trees, afforestation is done. It helps. It has a lot of beneficial activity. Next is forest are biodiversity hotspots. So biodiversity measures by number of species found there, range of different life forms. So biodiversity means variety and the number, isn't it? Variety of species and the number of species that are found, that is a variety. So it can be of plants, it can be of animals. So conservation means preserve the biodiversity we have inherited. So loss of biodiversity may lead to loss of ecological stability. All right. So if there is a loss of biodiversity, it leads to ecological stability. So biodiversity measures by number of species and the range, the variety of different species found. Next we have wildlife. So what are the importance of wildlife? Clear. So first importance is wildlife helps to conserve biodiversity. Wildlife help to maintain food chain and food wave. Third point is we get useful products from wildlife like food, medicine, leather, honey, bones, etc. Clear? So these are the importance of wildlife. If wildlife is there, food chain and food web will be passing on, isn't it? It will be circulated. You know the food chain and food web I have already taught in the earlier chapter. The process of eating and being eaten up is called food chain, and if there is a more number of food chain, if two or more food chain are interconnected with each other, is called food web. Clear? So next is conservation of wildlife. First is preserving the natural habitats of animals. How we can conserve the wildlife? First, preserving the natural habitat of animals, banning poaching of animals, protecting endangered species of animals, and fourth is the setting up of wildlife sanctuaries, national park, biosphere reserves, etc. Clear? First is we have to protect the endangered species. We should ban the hunting and poaching of animals. We should preserve the natural environment or natural habitat on animals that are present, and we have to set up sanctuaries like wildlife sanctuaries, national park and biosphere reserves. Clear? So student, these are the homework questions from this topic. So first question is what is the importance of forest? Second question is what is the importance of wildlife? Third question is what are the different ways by which forest can be conserved? And fourth is what is the need for management of natural resources? So thank you student, this was all about today's video lecture. from the topic forest and wildlife and the management of natural resources, how we can manage the natural resources. So stay at home, stay safe. All right, and keep your studying mode always on. Clear? So if you have any doubt, you can comment me below. And I'm Shomajit sir signing off for today, and again we'll meet in the next class. Thank you, students.